Right, Trump about a week ago brokered a peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan, giving America exclusive rights to build a connecting corridor, interestingly named the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, or TRIP. For 99 years, America will control this trip strip. Now, what many don't know is that the corridor, which is designed to allow Azerbaijan to reach their Nekhchivan exclave, is a part of the country beyond the rest of the country. This corridor is just a few miles north of the Iranian border. Oh, what a coinky dink! What a what a coincidence! A corridor 40 kilometers long, with America having exclusive developmental rights for 99 years. What an interesting development. Wonder what that could be repurposed for. That sounds like the Yanks positioning a knife at Iran's throat in case anything gets potentially problematic, as Harry would say, in the future, right? So naturally, Iran set off. President of the Persian fortress nation, Masoud Pezeshkian, headed straight to Armenia to get some assurances and some public statements released, just to lay the groundwork, just to make clear that Iran's not taking all these movements without responding, without staying aware, without pushing back in terms of its own geopolitical sphere of influence, butting up against the American sphere, essentially. Now, you guys might not know what part of the world this is. I'll summarize very quickly. These are the Caucasus, where Armenia, Azerbaijan, they both sit. Georgia is another country that is here. And this region is potentially problematic because it's a crossroad. It's a sort of no man's land in terms of the larger regional powers around this zone. So picture that zone in the middle. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia is here. Turkey is in the west, regional power. Iran is in the south, regional power. Russia is to the north, regional power, right? Great regional power, nuclear armed. The US, America, naturally would love a military base here to keep an eye on all three of these countries that I just mentioned. But no, of course, this Trump corridor is just an economic development. Of course, America would never try to build anything for America's military posturing or positioning or to gain an advantage in the future. No secret drone caches, no CIA base of operations. No, come on, Mahfouz. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Take off your tinfoil hat. Iran's top advisor didn't mince any words. They called this US deal a threat and said any funny business. They didn't use exactly those words, but they said basically any funny business, and this would turn into a graveyard for Trump's mercenaries. They did actually use those words. Oh. How capable Iran is in terms of being able to actually deliver on that threat is is up for debate. Personally, I believe America isn't particularly interested in setting up a new base here. They're more interested in leaving a Middle East exit, right? Middle exit, a Euro exit for America. Or is it America exit, I guess? Because it's the country leaving. Britain, Brexit. Anyway, America wants to leave so that it can focus on China in this Cold War 2.0 that's developing now. We're basically in the middle of it. So they don't really need or want particularly a base smack in the middle of the Caucasus. But having the option, it could, for example, be America could, for example, be persuaded, lobbied, one could say, by a certain group or nation, one could say, to give a certain Middle Eastern power access to the corridor for their own dubious dealings, for economic purposes. Of course, not any, Mossad intelligence or defense force antics or anything like that. Definitely nothing like that. Don't, come on, Muffles, come on. Anyway, Armenia reassured Iran they'll keep control of the security. They'll keep the corridor within Iranian sovereignty. It's just economic development that America will have. Armenia basically committed to not letting any third country take over this region, meaning the US, obviously. That is the third country we're talking about, even if they're not named. Now, this is classic great power politics. There's a tussle now in the Caucasus. The Caucasus just became the latest chessboard where America, Iran, and Russia are moving around their pieces. No one is actually taking pieces. No one's attacking each other, but the positioning is being done. Now, Iran in particular is on a regional tour. Why? I'll get to that near the end. We're already near the end. But Iran is on a regional tour of the Middle East and the Caucasus. They also visit to and from China very recently, and they've been speaking to Pakistan, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, also in the mix, and countries housing groups aligned to Iran They have also had visits from Iranian officials. Iraq, for example, Lebanon, for example, South Lebanon, a certain paramilitary group there, for example. Why? Why is Iran touring the Middle East, moving its pieces around? The answer? My assessment for round two. A military advisor to Iran's supreme leader, for example, just in the last 24 hours, had this to say. And I noted it down, but it's gone for some reason. What's going on? What did they have to say? Let me just find the quote. They had this to say. Okay, we're preparing for the final battle with Israel. We are not in a ceasefire, but in a war phase, which can be interrupted at any time, and the next war will determine the end of the conflict. End quote. That's what the military advisor to Iran's supreme leader said in the last 24 hours. I'll cover more on the ramp up from both sides because things are getting hot for the analysts. They can see things are getting hot in terms of breaking news. It's not out yet because we're usually looking at the positioning before someone actually throws a punch. To defense analysts, the movements are unmistakable. Both sides are positioning themselves for another round. They're moving the pieces around. Now, forecasts from analysts on both sides are saying this time things could be much more devastating. Why? In a nutshell, the answer is because if Israel tries something again, there are assessments that they won't be able to try a third time. There's no third time's the charm, potentially. So if they try something now, they're likely going to have to commit with the objective, with their war goals to be fulfilled or for them to, capitulate essentially. Now, if their war goals are to destabilize, basically to overthrow the Iranian regime or administration or government, whatever you want to call it, if they go in with that war goal, they're going to really hit Iran hard, right? With everything Israel's got. Now, Iran will know that. And knowing that, they're going to want to establish a deterrence. They're going to want to promise Israel, if you try anything against us again, were you not here? Have you forgot the 12-day war? Have you forgot we were throwing missiles back at you, and as you were panicking because you're running out of interceptors, some news articles made it clear that Israeli officials themselves said we only have 2 weeks of Iron Dome interceptors left. There was all kinds of manners going on. Iran would probably say, do you not remember that? Last time we were in this tussle, I was just about to reach for the good stuff, the best missiles I have, and you called it quits. We were ready for a long run, and you were like, oh, I'm already exhausted after 12 days. You asked for the ceasefire, or America asked for the ceasefire. Depends on what sources you believe. If you go for Western sources, of course, they'll say Iran lost somehow. I don't know how a nation that was attacked and the attacking nation fulfilled no war goals and still the defender lost somehow. I don't know what kind of analysis they're giving, unless of course they're spinning with the Western spin. They're just high on their own supply. Obviously, I'm not high on my own supply. I don't use drugs. Long story short, I'll cover more over the coming days. One can hope that things don't pop off and go crazy because of the civilian loss of life that's almost guaranteed to come as a result. But if things do pop off, I'll be here, hopefully, to provide you with the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin. I'm Mahfouz, and I'll see you on the next one.